What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Best Friends, the sequel. Today we're going to be talking about Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Absolutely want everyone to get out and see this movie. So much is going on in this movie. You've got martial arts, you've got great messages about family, raising a kid, moving to a new area, trying to run a business, and that doesn't even include all the other crazy stuff that happens in this movie. A lot of crazy special effects, a lot of multiverse, alternate universe type things going on. But the main message really in this movie is that throughout our entire lives, all sorts of things are going to be coming at you, dealing with life changes, dealing with, raising a family, raising kids, dealing with depression, talking to your parents about things, talking to your spouse about, there's so many things going on in this movie outside of the awesome martial arts and fighting and special effects and all those crazy things. The message in this movie is the reason why I love this movie. So this movie's absolutely a roller coaster of emotions. All right, so Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is written and directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, known in Hollywood as The Daniels. So they also did Swiss Army Man together, which is another amazing movie, great heartfelt story. If you haven't seen Swiss Army Man, I definitely recommend checking it out. I'm not going to tell you anything about it other than it's got Daniel Radcliffe in it, and it's just an amazing movie. You should absolutely check it out. So the Daniels actually met in college and started making videos together in 2009. They did a 55-second short called Swingers. Look it up on YouTube. I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's less than a minute long. Definitely check it out. It's pretty funny. So this movie stars Michelle Yeoh as Evelyn, Ke-Huy Quan as Waymond, who for the rest of this video, I'm just going to refer to as Quan because that's a lot easier. So Michelle Yeoh is awesome. You've probably seen her in things like Shang-Chi, Star Trek Discovery, and a big one, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's been in tons of other movies and shows. Definitely let me know in the comments section what your favorite Michelle Yeoh movies and shows are. I'll be sure to check those out in the future on my channel. So Michelle is obviously an amazing martial artist, but in this movie, she really shows off her range as an actress. You see her go through a lot of different emotions: happiness, sadness, excitement, terrified at some points. It's super impressive for her to be as amazing at martial arts as she is, but to show her acting range in this movie, it's crazy. In the beginning of the movie, we see Michelle as a young woman with her boyfriend, played by Quan, her boyfriend Waymond, and they are leaving their country to go live in the United States and start a business, start a family. Her father definitely did not approve of her leaving and going to the United States with her boyfriend. He basically disowned her, and it appears like they don't have a whole lot of communication until her father comes to visit her. At this point, Evelyn and Waymond are struggling just to pay bills and keep their laundromat business afloat. On top of that, raising a daughter, which in any situation, whether it's a good situation, a bad situation, if you have lots of money, if you don't have a lot of money, raising kids is hard, especially if you don't seem to have the support of your own parent. So again, her father is visiting the States. He doesn't seem any happier than he did when she was a young girl leaving to start her own life in the beginning of the movie. We see Evelyn sitting at this table that's just filled with receipts as she's preparing for a visit to the IRS office later that day, and she's stressed out because she's going to be introducing her daughter and her daughter's girlfriend, Becky, to her father, and she doesn't know how her father is going to take that. So next up, we're introduced to the other main character of this movie, Waymond, who's played by Quan. So Waymond is Evelyn's husband, and if you don't recognize him, Quan's very first movie was in 1984 when he played Short Round in a little movie you might know called Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So Quan did a few other things after that, and then we didn't really see him do any acting for 20 years until he did this movie in 2022. He also plays OB in the show Loki. If you haven't checked out Loki, I definitely recommend it. Quan plays a genius character who's also hilarious. I'm not going to spoil anything about the show for you other than obviously Quan is in it, so definitely check Loki out. If you guys want me to review Loki, definitely let me know in the comments. So Quan's character Waymond is an extremely positive, extremely optimistic man. He's seen constantly making an effort to see the good in every single situation and, more importantly, every person. While Quan does a great job at playing the lovable optimist who you hate to see upset, he also does a great job at displaying confidence, intelligence, and impressive physical capabilities later on in the movie. So the third and final main character of this story is Joy, played by Stephanie Sue. Stephanie does an amazing job in this movie, again showing off her amazing acting chops as we see her go through a range of emotions as she switches between Joy and her alternate reality counterpart. So when I first saw this movie, I didn't recognize Stephanie from other movies, but she actually played in Shang-Chi with Michelle Yeoh, and most recently Blue-Eyed Samurai, which again, I know I've recommended a few different things so far in this video, but Blue-Eyed Samurai, if you haven't checked that out, definitely check it out. It's an amazing story. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to review that. Blue-Eyed Samurai is an anime, and obviously you can tell that I'm into anime, but even if you aren't into anime, it's still a really great story. Definitely check it out. So we first see Joy here with her girlfriend Becky, and she's really trying to involve Becky in the party that her parents are planning for the customers in the laundromat. And Joy is really frustrated with her mom's anxiety over introducing her girlfriend Becky to, their old-fashioned grandfather. Becky, by the way, is like the best girlfriend ever. She's always supportive, she's super patient, always helpful. I really think Becky just deserves a ton of credit for being an amazing partner in this whole situation. So next up, she's probably not considered one of the main characters, but I definitely have to talk about Jamie Lee Curtis. So she's mainly known for her role in the Halloween movies, but the movie that I always think about when I think of Jamie Lee Curtis is True Lies. So here we see Jamie Lee Curtis as the tax lady who's helping Michelle Yeoh deal with all these different tax issues. So Jamie's been acting for a long time, so it's no surprise that she puts on an amazing performance here, but the thing that I love the most about her character in this movie is that she consistently does the kind thing. Despite working for the IRS for several years and turning her into this kind of grumpy lady, she always seems to find her cool and just be the supportive person that you would hope an IRS person would be for you. Alright, so before I dive in, I just want to let everyone know that this, for the most part, is going to be a spoiler-free review. I really want everyone to check this movie out, so I'll explain the story and how everything made me feel without giving anything away. Alright, so very early on, we find out that there are infinite alternate realities. Basically, every single choice you make at any given moment can create an alternate reality. So in one reality, I might decide to put my arm right here, and in another alternate reality, I might decide to just lean back. Depending on what I choose, that branches out and creates an entire new reality that, if you know about the butterfly effect, can change the course of your entire life. So in one of these realities, they actually develop the technology that allows them to temporarily transfer their mind into another version of themselves in another alternate reality. So Waymond from the Alphaverse can actually temporarily take over the mind of our Waymond in our universe. So on top of that, they can actually borrow knowledge and skills from their alternate selves, which in this movie basically allows everyone to become like a martial arts master. So the trick is you have to wear these things that I'm just going to call reality buds. And by performing very weird, very random actions like this, you can then temporarily enter the mind of your alternate self and borrow their skills. So basically, if you perform the correct, random, very weird action, the light will turn green, you press the button, you gain those skills. If the light doesn't turn green, if it turns yellow or red, there could be some unforeseen consequences. So this leads to our characters doing some very weird stuff, sometimes sexual, in order to gain that edge over their opponent. Downloading skills and knowledge is obviously inspired from The Matrix. I will say that I think The Matrix does this a little bit better in some ways. I would have liked to see this technology used to download skills and knowledge that wasn't always necessarily used for fighting. So you might be asking, what are the drawbacks to this kind of technology? Well, there's a serious drawback and some serious consequences. The main consequence being the creation of the villain, Jobu Tupaki. So Jobu was a natural at this, but her trainer pushed her too far, and her mind ended up getting splintered across all of her alternate selves across the entire multiverse. So now she experiences everything, everywhere, all at once. So the benefit of this is Jobu can switch between her alternate reality selves at will. The downside to this is it kind of makes her insane. On top of being able to switch between her alternate selves at will, she can also manipulate matter, which seems to allow her to change her clothes and really anything else that she needs to change to gain that advantage. So this sends Jobu on a killing spree along with her loyal following of cultists, and everyone seems to be targeting Evelyn for an unknown reason. So throughout the movie, Alpha Waymond from the Alphaverse pops in from time to time trying to warn Evelyn about all the lurking dangers, and also working to prepare Evelyn for the inevitable showdown with Jobu Tupaki. So Evelyn has no idea what's going on, she's totally confused, but Waymond believes that with training, that Evelyn can actually match Jobu's powers. So to break it down, we basically have a movie that's filled with amazing fight choreography, crazy effects, but the real focus of this movie is really about identity, family, depression, and most of all, the importance of being kind to each other, especially when we don't know what's going on. If you're any kind of person that's ever dealt with any adversity, any type of hardship in your life, there are a lot of different things in this movie that you're really going to relate to, you're really going to appreciate, especially when you get to the end of the movie and, you know, see how this whole thing wraps up. And again, that message of being kind to one another, especially when we don't know what's going on, is super important. You look at the world today, I mean, you know, of course, if you look at the world in the past, there's always been issues throughout time, right? But being kind to one another, especially when you don't know what's going on, how could that possibly be a bad thing, right? You see someone, you don't know what their situation is. It doesn't hurt you to be kind to other people. I'm a huge believer in saying please and thank you. Just saying please and thank you, that can make an entire person's day. So if you watch this movie and you take anything away from it, definitely take away being kind to people, especially people you don't know anything about, you don't know their situation, you don't know their life. Just be kind to people, and then maybe people will be kind to you. So guys, before I give you the rating for this movie, here's some honorable mentions and some things that I can talk about without spoiling the movie. So one of the first frames in the movie shows Waymond, Evelyn, and Joy in a reflection in a mirror. They're having a great time, they're jumping up and down. And you know, at one point in the movie, Alpha Waymond is telling Evelyn that the mission of the Alphaverse is to help get the multiverse back to how it should be. Basically where everything feels right. And I feel like this scene at the very beginning of the movie is basically the scene that showcases that goal. Throughout the movie, we're reminded of how difficult it is for Joy to live up to her mother's expectations and also deal with the fact that her grandfather is this old-fashioned guy. And the movie focuses on the fact that it's difficult for Joy to be in a gay relationship with those circumstances, but without being preachy or distracting from the main story. They do a good job here at highlighting how it can be difficult to live your best life, especially if you have an old-fashioned family that doesn't necessarily understand or maybe doesn't even support you. Another thing that I really like about this movie, and this is, you know, something that you see in a lot of good movies, is there are things that on the first watch, they won't really mean anything. Unless you have a perfect memory and later on in the movie, you can think back to that scene that you saw in the first 20 minutes. But for me, my memory's not that great and I love watching movies, so this is a great reason to watch this movie a second or even a third time and really have a good time catching those Easter eggs. It's really cool to see these guys throughout the movie if you don't recognize them. They actually started out on YouTube. Their channel is called Martial Club. Definitely check out their channel. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. My first experience with these guys was when they did a fan film of Ip Man, and the fight choreography in that YouTube video is really awesome. So definitely check these guys out. This is totally random, but Waymond is doing this fight scene against these guys, and he does this wall sit move, which I just think is an awesome piece of choreography. He also did most of his own stunts in the movie, which is pretty awesome. And I actually didn't know this, but most of that 20 years where he wasn't acting in movies, he actually was a stunt coordinator, so that's pretty awesome. There's several comparisons to The Matrix to this movie, but this scene right here where Waymond is guiding Evelyn through the office instantly reminded me of The Matrix. There's another scene early on where we see Waymond pull Evelyn from one reality into another, and that's another scene that didn't actually remind me of The Matrix. Another Keanu Reeves movie called Constantine, where Papa Midnight pulls Keanu from another reality basically back into the real world. Another detail that you may not pay attention to the way that I do, but Jamie Lee Curtis is wearing yellow throughout the movie. And if you remember earlier when I said the best thing about her character is that she's consistently doing the nice, kind thing, the interesting thing is that in Chinese culture, the color yellow is actually associated with warmth, empathy, and good faith. So if you've already seen this movie, then you know that I left a lot out of this review intentionally to keep it non-spoiler. So definitely check out this movie if you haven't already seen it. It's a great movie. It's got a great message. It's definitely a tearjerker. You know, me personally, I'm a second generation crier. My mom, she cries at everything. She'll cry, you know, during a commercial. I don't cry that much, but this movie definitely had some tears coming. It does suffer a little bit from some pacing issues, a lack of creativity and pulling skills and knowledge from alternate realities that aren't necessarily related to fighting. And this could just be my TV. It could be that, you know, I was streaming it, but some of the scenes are just really dark, like so dark you can't see what's going on. All that being said, I really enjoyed this movie, really enjoyed the message, highly recommend it, and I'm gonna give this movie 8.5 out of 10 googly eyes. Guys, thanks so much for watching my review of Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is my second video. I'm always looking for feedback, so definitely please leave comments. I read all the comments. Give me your good feedback, give me, you know, the negative feedback. Let me know how I can improve. Let me know how I can do better for you guys. Any movies or shows that you want me to review, please leave those in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, it'll really help me out. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys next time.